Shai Bashim Rakakwada Shalom to the 144,000 rest of you elect out there. Shalom to you all. Anyway, I'm going to entitle this video Lost Tribes and Promised Lands, $575. And you're talking about shipping within the U.S., standard delivery 7 to 14 days, so we're talking 2 weeks with the shipping. Then there's tax on it, so you're talking pretty much $600 to get this book. I have a copy of this book. I believe it was given to me as a gift from somebody. In the truth, I had this book for years. I remember the book when it came out, and it was no $600 for this book. Lost Tribes and Promised Lands, or the origins of American racism. Now, in this book, they go into the tribes. They tell you about the Northern Kingdom, the 10 tribes, right? This is home, satellite books, Lost Tribes. Lost Tribes, meaning the Lost Tribes of Israel. Speaks about Joseph. It speaks about Reuben. It's all in there like spaghetti sauce. So I said I had to make a video, and I just look how much I saw. 30, not even a minute, 31 seconds, and I had to throw the screen capture up. By the way, I have a screen capture. The denial of America being Azareth is futile. Right there, at one time, you go to Google and you put is Azareth America, and you got a whole bunch. Most of you got Jewish scholars, and most of Jewish scholars would say that you can't even find it no more. Or you might find one article if you look hard enough. You know what I'm gonna do? Let me do this, and I'm gonna let this play. They're putting a high price on the truth. That's a topic right there. I might just go ahead and use that in the video as well. You had to pay a high price to get this truth. Let's see what happens. Could you clarify the meaning of Azareth? There is in a country or region officially known by that name. Okay, let me do it this way. Maybe I'm missing a letter. Excuse me. Those are the 10 tribes, the Northern Kingdom, which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hoshea the king, whom Shalmaneser V, the king of Assyria, and Shalmaneser is a title, led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. That other land is Assyria, but they took this council amongst themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt, that they might there keep their statutes which they never kept in their own land. And they entered into the Euphrates by the narrow passages of the river, for the Most High then showed signs for them, and held still the flood till they were passed over. Now in the movie, the Columbus movie, what is it called? Conquest of Paradise, starring Depardieu. He played Christopher Columbus, and he was telling the priest. And I did a video on it a couple of weeks back, and he showed the map and how the map stopped at a certain point. They didn't know what was on the other side of the map, and he believed that to get to the Americas, it would. I think he said? I think it was 75 leagues. I forget. It was leagues instead of miles, and he said it would take about a year. About a year, if you watch that movie. Now, the part that y'all look at is a part where he speaks about. He uses he says Ezra, the book of Ezra. He mentions the prophet Ezra, but you forget the part. You miss the part where he says, from Spain to this new region, it would take about a year. Now, the scripture says it's going to take a year and a half. It says, for through that country there was a great way to go, talking about America, namely of a year and a half. And he said year. And the same, if somebody want to look it up, you can go ahead and look it up. The scene where he talks to the priest, that's like inside of the first 10 minutes of the movie. And the same region is called Arsareth. Okay, so it's spelled differently. So let me do this. Christopher Columbus, the people that he encountered were Israelites. Let me do it this way. So let's see what happens now. Okay, boom. There you go. There you go. That's a fascinating and much debated question. Now, when it says debated question, that means this has been talked about. They have had debates on it. Azareth or Arsareth, which is the Hebrew word another land. Deuteronomy 29, I believe it's 29:29, appears in 2nd Ezra 13:40-47, a Jewish apocryphal text found in some Christian Bibles as for Ezra. It describes the 10 lost tribes of Israel leaving their land and journeying to a distant region where never mankind dwelt, called Azareth, to live there until the end times. Woo! And this is where your Hebrew comes in. You look up the word Azareth, and the Most High led me to that. We used to just say it meant another region, but it actually means, it's Hebrew, it actually means another land. Over the centuries, people have proposed many theories about where Azareth might be, Here's a summary of the main interpretations. Traditional religious view in Jewish and early Christian interpretations, Arsareth was simply a symbolic or unknown distant land representing the exile and hiddenness of the 10 tribes. It wasn't identified with any specific geographic place. Medieval and Renaissance speculation is when Esau started to come in. Some medieval, which we were in power, commentators tried to locate it geographically. Asia, someplace Azareth in Central Asia, e.g. example given beyond the Euphrates or near the Caspian Sea, India or the East. Others thought the tribes went to India or China because they didn't know where they went. They just disappeared. Early modern and colonial era theories from the 16th to the 19th century, we're talking about the 1500s to the 1800s, certain Christians and pseudo-historical writers claim that Arsareth referred to the Americas. They connected the land where never mankind dwelt with the newly discovered continent because they were there. They came to the Americas. So they said, this is it. So the Israelites got to be here. Continents of the Western Hemisphere, which is the America, Canada, U.S., Central and South America, some groups, including British Israelites. These are these Edomites, but a lot of them is Jake too. They believe that they're the descendants, that the descendants of the other tribes are European. And early Latter-day Saints suggest that Native Americans might descend from the lost tribes, which they're correct on. However, there is no linguistic, archaeological, or genetic evidence supporting the identification of Azareth with the Americas or Native American Indians. But they can dig up the woolly mammoth. This mammoth goes back 2 million years, and we use a special element, hard carbon dating, 16 or whatever. But you're clueless. You know, there's nothing. Ezekiel 28. There's nothing that they can hide from thee. Thou art wiser than Daniel. But I don't know. Hey, I don't know. Modern scholarly consensus. Most modern biblical scholars view Arsareth as a mystic or symbolic name for a distant, uninhabited region, not a real place that can be mapped. It reflects. So maybe the 12 tribes, the 10 tribes went up in outer space. They're coming back on the three-eye atlas. They're all up in there. It reflects an ancient longing for restoration and divine justice, not geography, excuse me. Summary. Now you know what the next question I'm going to ask would be. While some latter interpreters equated Azareth with America, there is no historical or textual basis for that claim. In its original context, Azareth is best understood as a mystic land of exile, which is America, the Americas, not a reference to the Western Hemisphere. Well, that means that the ship just turned into a spaceship and went in outer space. They had to go somewhere. Would you like to show? Would you like me to show you how this idea that Azareth equals America developed in specific historical writings, like those of the 7th to 19th century? Now, this is the question I'm going to ask. You already know what I'm going to ask. Let's see what's going to happen. Let me see. They gave me a good amount of information. That's the initial question. Okay, here's the second question. Was GMS Israelites' take on Azareth being America? Here's what I found on the belief of GMS sect. GMS regarding the concept of Arsareth and whether it is identified with America, plus some caveats on how clear or unclear their position is. What we do know about GMS is part of a radical One West movement, blah, 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 blah. Native Americans. These groups often teach that the modern U.S. are the called Edomites, oppressed, Babylon, blah, 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 blah. Criticized within and What we don't have clear evidence for GMS. I was unable to locate. Oh, now all of a sudden you don't know what our stance is. Come on now. Outside GMS, What the broader Hebrew Israelites, the lost tribes literature says about Arsareth in America. Some writings within the broader Hebrew Israelites or allied traditions identify Azareth as a region to which the 10 tribes migrated. Now in that book, Lost Tribes in Promised Lands, they tell you that it goes into how the tribes in America and place their region in the Americas. For example, when Columbus discovered America, the Americas were not inhabited. This is why the term Azareth is applied to the content and that's from True Nation Israel. On the other hand, I found a website, not necessarily GMS, arguing against identifying America as Azareth. America is not Azareth, it is Mystery Babylon. Yeah, which is America. So there is a variety of views. Some hold America as Azareth or a candidate. Others hold America is something else. Babylon and Azareth is elsewhere. Given the above, here's what seems most plausible regarding GMS. GMS likely holds that America, or at least part of it, is part of the biblical unfolding of the lost tribes. It's got to. Prophecy scenario, IG, example given, America as Babylon or oppressor. Right, that's why in Isaiah 14, you come across the word oppressors or oppressor, and Babylon and the king of Babylon, rather than exclusively as Arsareth. They may adopt or accept the idea that the lost tribes went to the Americas, or the U.S. is complicit in their dispersion. But I could not document a clean statement from GMS specifically equating Azareth with America, or equal to America, because GMS is part of a radical camp. Their teachings emphasize radical ethnic identity of Israelites, judgment of white people, Edomites. Yeah, we so into cursing out white people every time we get the chance. You white people are the devil. You Edomites, you're going into slavery. The hell with you. That we never go into anything else. That's what they're trying to say. That overlays heavily with their geopolitical, eschatological claims, including about America. If you like, I can try to dig up primary GMS documents, videos, sermons. You know what I'm gonna do? Yes, do that. See if they're gonna give us some videos. Okay, they mentioned one channel, GMS Awakening 144. That's it. Anyway, let me come on back over here. And play this from the beginning. Like I said, I only listened to 31 seconds of it, so.
Shalom. Call hello, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rekah HaKodash. Double honors unto the apostles, double honors unto the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than never. To the would-be judges, the 144,000, the tabernacle of David, as written about in Amos 9:11, who are to be the new judges, the new government here on earth, not an American government, not a Chinese government, not a Russian government, but an Israelite government from heaven on earth as it is in heaven. Right? They will be the judges and rule over all the other nations, and they will ensure that the laws of heaven, the laws in the Bible, are instituted here on earth as it is in heaven. That's what it's talking about. All right, 12,000 men from each of the 12 tribes of Israel. 144,000 judges. And to the rest of the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners, among the heathen.
Now I'm going to cut this for this. I just caught this. This is pretty much breaking news. So the Most High, Yahweh Shai going to have to get us. Click on it. Now I'll come back to the video.
What's up, y'all? Hope everybody out there is having a great day. We got a lot of stuff to get to today. But before I get to it, let me just say, New Jersey, go out there.
This is fair use.
Going on. Virginia, go out there and vote. You got an election going on. New York City, same thing. California, go vote. You got an election going on. So super important stuff. I hope everybody gets out there and goes to the polls if you haven't yet in those places. But there's a lot of stuff to dive into. So in just a second, we're going to talk about how the Pentagon is saying absolutely terrifying things, and they're saying that they reserve the right to commit the most egregious crime imaginable. So we're going to talk about that. It is ugly. Then we're going to go on to talk about how AI videos have reached a point now where something's got to be done. We cannot just continue business as usual because they can just fool anybody, never mind gullible people. At this point, they could fool anybody. So we'll talk about that. We also have Ted Cruz goes after Nick Fuentes and regrets it immediately. We have Mossad admitting that in the same way they booby-trapped the pagers that blew up, that were supposed to kill Hezbollah members but got a lot of civilians too. They say they have all sorts of electronics booby-trapped all across the world, which is a terrifying thought. And we'll also get to, is Trump hiding a very serious medical condition, and what evidence is there to that effect? We got a lot of speculation going on, man. A lot of speculation, and we're going to dive into it. So you guys know the drill. Everybody please do me a big favor and subscribe to the channel. That helps.
I hope you can hear this. I didn't have this close to the mic, the speaker.
Also support the show on Patreon. Remember, this is real independent media. You'll never catch me talking to an advertiser or doing an ad read or talking to a billionaire or talking to a government or a PAC or anything like that. You guys made the show independent. So if you give $2 a month, it helps out a lot. $5 a month, it helps out a lot. The Patreon link is below. You can also tip with that thanks button on YouTube, which is below me right now. Or you can support Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. And also definitely go sub to Corin's World on YouTube, where we do live Kyle and Corin episodes every Monday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. All right, guys, let's go ahead and jump right in. So let's start with this here. The New Republic has sort of a terrifying new article out, and the title is the following: Trump boat bombings worsen as new horror shakes experts. Quote, alarm bells. Remember the Southern Command Admiral who resigned 2 weeks ago? Well, Hill Republicans haven't heard from him, and they don't want to. So in other words, Republicans in Congress know, as a matter of fact, well, Trump's committing crimes, Hegseth is committing crimes, they're blowing up random innocent people on fishing boats. Everybody knows that. We all know that. We're not going to stop it. We're going to let them do whatever they want to do. And so the admiral who resigned, because obviously he's got some horror stories about the things they were asking him to do, which are wildly immoral and unethical and illegal, they're like, just shut the fuck up and go away. We don't want to think about you. We don't want to talk to you. We don't want to hear what you have to say, because he would be pissing in the punch bowl. He would be throwing a wrench into their plans of illegal regime change.
You know that we're counting down to the months. We should be in the kingdom. The MOTB should be here inside of months. Which the kingdom is right. The kingdom and deliverance is right behind that. So we're talking about months.
In Venezuela, based on total lies. So this is what people need to understand. We've already hit the point where it's like George W. Bush with Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction. No, he doesn't. That's a total lie. Everybody knows that's a lie. Now, here we are, decades later. It's one of the most laughable and egregious lies in American political history. Well, now we're seeing the same shit. Oh, Maduro is the head of this narco-terrorist gang. Meanwhile, if you go look at the numbers, literally no fentanyl comes from Venezuela. None of it. So they lied. They lied about that. They're also lying that these are drug smuggling boats. They don't even have enough gas to reach the U.S., and they're saying they're smuggling shit into the U.S. They'd have to refuel 20 times to get anything to the U.S., and there's also no evidence there's any drugs anywhere. They were literally using pictures, MAGA was, from 2012, showing drug boats going, huh, libs say these aren't fucking drug boats. No, you're showing a picture from 2012. The new boats that you're blowing up are all dinghy fishing boats, most of them Venezuelan, some of them Colombian, some from Trinidad and Tobago. But they, like, guys, I need you to understand, as crazy as you think it is, it's actually crazier. These are grown-ass men making the decision to murder random people in terror attacks in the Caribbean, and then they're covering it up. But it gets worse. Look at this. We're highlighting this from the New Republic article. This is very bad. Representative Adam Smith tells me that in briefings, Pentagon officials said they reserve the right to kill people who are, quote, affiliated with their list of narco-terror groups, but under questioning, they wouldn't define what affiliated means. So now let me read. This is directly from the article. The administration has designated drug cartels as terrorist organizations while claiming Trump has inherent constitutional authority to order the strikes to defend the country against attacks. But as legal experts note, this gives Trump the power to unilaterally execute civilians who are not in any meaningful sense akin to terrorist groups or waging war against the United States, with zero due process. Meanwhile, lots of evidence casts doubt on whether some of these people...
This is called extrajudicial killings. You got you can't. You got to do. They have a right to due process. You got to take them to court. You got to bring the evidence. You just can't say, "Oh, he was selling drugs." Boom, you know. So we're counting down the months. Do y'all understand that? For you guys that have got your hands in your pocket and your head stuck up your ass, waiting for the spirit to hit you to start doing videos or really push this thing. I'm not talking about you brothers that are out there doing the work. I'm talking about you lollygaggers.
People were even trafficking drugs to the United States in the first place. Smith said the official legal rationale offered in this week's Armed Services Committee briefing has gotten even more troubling. He said the administration officials claimed they now have the authority to bomb people who are merely affiliated with groups that Trump has designated as narco-terrorists.
That means if you suspect this guy to be a narco-terrorist or drug whatever, and he's visiting his mom, you can blow the fucking house up with his mom and his kids. I'm telling you, we're counting down to the months.
But under questioning, they refused to say what affiliated even means. They did not in any way, shape, manner, or form explain what the ceiling and floor are for affiliated, Smith told me. Theoretically, that could go beyond whether they're in the actual action of moving drugs. So this is terrifying. They're starting now with narco-terrorists. We say you're affiliated with narco-terrorists so they can kill whoever they want on the seas, claiming that. They're also going to do it when it comes to Antifa terrorists. If you're an Antifa terrorist in the U.S., if you're affiliated with Antifa terrorists, we don't have to define it. We don't have to prove anything. We're just going to kill you and then say Antifa terrorist. We're going to kill you and say narco-terrorist or affiliated with narco-terrorist. And they won't even say what affiliated means. Do you not understand? This 100% is Trump trying to give himself the power of a king. That's what it is. And so he can be judge, jury, and execution.
The king of Babylon. Let's come back. Come back.
Shalom. Her husband had a whole other wife and a whole set of other children with his other wife. Hebrew Israelite. Okay? So this is something I was exposed to. The Hebrew Israelite awakening which was prophesied in Ezekiel 37th chapter, was in full swing. All right, in the 90s, hadn't gone global yet. Now it was mainly just in New York, Chicago, and LA. All right, my first wife as a young man that we lost our virginity to one another. All right, which is the way it should be, you know. We were just young. She was a Hebrew Israelite. Okay, so this is something I was exposed to as a child. You know, and she came from a huge family. She had 5 sisters and 2 or 3 brothers. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, she had 2 brothers. So she had over 7 of them. Yeah, and all the sisters were attractive too. They was swarthy, chocolate, beautiful women. And so was her mom. I've seen pictures of her mom when she was young. And her daughters, her daughters were just like them. All pretty chocolate, very curvaceous, beautiful women. And she was one of 2 wives. Her husband had a whole nother wife and a whole set of other children with his other wife. And he had them in apartments close to one another. All right, so this is nothing. This was something, it's like I was reintroduced to it as an adult. And I may as well just, as a matter of fact, let me get a scripture before I continue. So I got some very condemning, is very edifying for Jacob, very edifying for this truth, but very, very condemning to the whole you wish movement and lies that they push. Okay, the JOOs and Christianism, trying to protect the lie, trying to avoid Ezekiel 36:5. All right, but this is what's happening. This is 2 Ezra 6:27, and it reads, "For evil shall be put out, and deceit shall be quenched. As for faith, it shall flourish. Corruption shall be overcome, and the truth, which have been so long without fruit, shall be declared." And that's what's happening. The truth has had no fruit in this world, which is ruled by the wicked. The earth was given unto their hands. All right? And they covered, let's just read it. Job 9:24. "The earth is given into the hands of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he?" All right? And now we're living in a time and age where that veil, that lie that Esau Edom put over the nations and came up with this whole color, black, white, yellow garbage, all right, to control the narrative, is being destroyed. Isaiah 25:7. "And he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all people, and the veil that is spread over all nations." Okay, so I'm going to play a short video, and then I'm going to read information from this book, and from this book, Mayor K. Serling's Lost Tribes and Promised Lands. I'm holding both of these books in my hand. I have them on the screen, but I'm holding them in my hand. All right, and also the 1901 Jewish Encyclopedia, which identifies America as Arsareth. All right, and its connection to Mayor K. Serling's book, page 15. All right, and this is more than enough evidence to prove that they've always known that the people here in the Americas, these swarthy chocolate people that they discovered in Hispaniola and in the islands, that Cristobal Colon, which is Christopher Columbus's real name, came here to the Americas with 5 Hebrew interpreters. He was not Italian, and he was not an Israelite. He was an Ish. There's some people that, that says otherwise. One person that I usually agree with historically. That's the one thing that we've clashed on, and but that's neither here nor there, because we can disagree on that. So it really has nothing to do with salvation at all. So it's not really, because this one brother's teaching that Cristobal Colon was really a Jake, which is possible, but I wasn't taught that, and I haven't seen any evidence of that. All right, that's not what I learned from the apostles and elders, who are the heads of all Israel on earth today, whether you can receive that or not.
Hey, Christopher Columbus is a Edomite, or another nation, but he's not a Jake, because he was set up by the Most High to do that. The Most High set up an Edomite or another nation that looked like an Edomite. He's supposed to be a small hat, J-double-O, but he's not an Israelite. He's not an Israelite.
Okay, but talking about this guy Ronald Sanders, who wrote this book, Lost Tribes and Promised Lands, going back to that Great Awakening and the Hebrew movement being in the main cities, being in New York, Chicago, and L.A. And this guy actually set out to disprove that there was any chance that the natives were connected to Israel by blood. And that was the purpose of this book. But upon his research, he realized that, oh my God, these people really are parts of the lost tribes, which is duh. And that's how this book came about. His intention was to disprove it, and it turned out that it was absolutely true. So he had to speak on it. He was, and so he wrote a book about it. And you can see the price tag they wanted on this book. All right, and right now you can't get SNAP, EBT. People can barely pay their rent, their phones, their insurance, and their repos are high right now, and mortgages are behind collectively all across America, and credit card debt like never before in history. So definitely no one's gonna pay $600 for a book. So the Wadi Yahweh, that I got mine so many years ago, and and even $30 was a lot, but I have the book. Okay, matter of fact, I'll just put it in front of the camera real quick. There it is. I've got it. Okay, and I also have this one. Okay, and they'll probably make that the screenshot. That's what the dark image that you can barely see. Watch YouTube. At all the time the screen has been on, it's gonna take those two shots and make one of those the thumbnail on this video. More likely than not. Okay, but I'm gonna play some videos and then share some information to back them up. And they're pretty bad. Good for us, bad for them. So here's the first one. It's on Instagram right now, but I guess it was originally put up on TikTok. So hold on. Let's take that back.
Cristobal Colon. Allegedly. So first of all, his name was Cristobal Colon. That's his real name.
I know white people gonna be like, they crazy, they lying, or made them change it.
Because so his family was Jewish, and in the country he was in, they had to transfer over, or they were going to get kicked out. They had to become Christians. So why everyone thinks Christopher Columbus was a Christian, he grew up Jewish bloodline, Jewish family. So he put on a front. This is how you know it's stamped, though. This is how you know it's stamped. He set sail on August 3rd, 1492. The day after the expulsion of Jews from Spain. he took sail.
Okay, so let's examine that. The expulsion of the Jews, so-called, all right, or the expulsion of the Israelites, because you had the Moors and the Morenos. It wasn't the Jewish people that were ruling Portugal and Spain. It was the Moors, a history that they don't like to talk about. And the Moors were nothing but Israelites that had converted to Islam. So Israelites were ruling. So when all them places you like, the Florence and all those beautiful places in Portugal and Spain, with the marble floors and all those beautiful castles and buildings, those were built by so-called black people. They weren't built by white people. You have to remember that Asia, the part of Asia that you call Europe or Eurasia, okay, was ruled over by Israelites, so-called black people, the coats of arms, you know, the book by what's that book? Well, with J.A. Rogers. Donald Fairbanks. When you look, there's a book called Nature Knows No Color Line, which I have on a shelf behind me. And in that book, it shows you the coats of arms of the Netherlands, of Germany, of Sweden, and all these places where, you know, where Edomites dwell now. All right, in Eastern Europe and all these different places. But the coats of arms from those time periods, going back to the Dark Ages and medieval times, were all Negroes, and all the relics. You know, there's still relics in their churches and in their, you know, like per example, let's run to the receipt folder real quick. Our beloved Shatia, we got our brother that goes over to Europe all the time and goes collect up all these images. This is in Slovenia. I mean in Sweden, I believe, if I remember correctly. I always thought this was in Coburg, Germany, but it was not.
Woo! Look at that.
In Europe, 1491. See? Proving what I just said was true. All right? Negroes were ruling at that time. Okay? Look at this, brother. Look at all the rings on his hands. You know, gold chains, gold necklace, gold earrings, fro, golden cup, a shield with a crown on it, and a big sword hanging from his side. This was not a servant. This was a ruling class individual. Okay? And he probably was one of those Moors. Or he could have been claiming his Israelite heritage as well. But from that sword, from that curved, like moon-like sword, I'm going to assume this guy was a Moor, which still makes him an Israelite by blood. Remember, you know, Moors were just Israelites that clung to Islam. You know, whether they were forced to Islam at the edge of the sword.
Just to add to that, you had Moors were knew that they were Israelites as well. You had some of them that kept the laws, statutes, and commandments. It was just a name that some Jakes embraced Islam, others kept the law, statutes, and commandments and knew that they were Israelites. Some were so-called real Christians. They followed the Messiah. They call them crypto Jews. They were because under the Torquemada, the Inquisition, you can read that, and they tortured you. You had to be a Catholic, a Christian. You had to be a Christian. They called it Christian, which is Catholic. Catholic just means, what is that? Catholic universal. Yeah, universal. And I'm sounding like Kazaki, I'm thinking. But anyway, you had some Jakes that embraced Islam and others embraced the law, statutes, and commandments, and others believed in the Messiah. So when they said you had to be a Christian, a lot of them said, okay, we'll be Christians, but secretly we're going to worship the true God. And Cristobal Colon, that's his name, not Christopher Columbus. It's Cristobal Colon, and he's not no goddamn Italian. These Italians, Christopher Columbus. Christopher Columbus was not an Italian. Christopher Columbus, Cristobal Colon was a Spaniard. And he was a crypto Jew because he accepted Christianity under the king and queen, King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, because they were Christians. I'm gonna look it up. See, we're not like preachers, Baptist preachers, just reading, just spewing out. We're giving you history. We're giving you the stuff that we're giving you is stuff that top universities don't give you. You understand? Christopher Columbus was a crypto Jew. You had Israelites that were called Moors. Moors, just as Latin, that means black. Moors mean black. My wife used to say, "Oh, he's Moreno," because people thought I was Dominican or Puerto Rican or whatever. Oh, no, he's doing that. He said, "Yo soy Moreno." You're black, but they were black too. You tell the dark-skinned American, you black. No, me no black, papi. Me no black. You African, bro. You a Guinea man.
Or they chose it. This is the 13th century, okay? 13th century piece of art showing you the wild men, white men with sticks and clubs, primitive spears, attacking.
And we were talking about that over the weekend. I don't know if we mentioned it. No, we was at the house, so it wasn't filmed. And we were talking about the wild man. I believe we was talking about it outside too. And we asked Chat, and Chat, kept tap dancing around the issue. And then, I said, I said something. I said, what is Tahar known as in GMS? And they say he's the wild man. They said, I'm the wild man. Yeah, that's the wild man. Because they were coming back in their power. The Most High putting the stirring these devils up. These are the wild men. These are Jakes over here. And these are the wild men, which are Edomites.
A black castle full of black royalty, Moors, Israelites. To prove it, you can see their garments. They wear the same garments that we wear on the streets when we teach, long down to the ankles with the border of blue. All right, with the fringes on them, you can clearly see it. This is from the 15th century, 14th century. All right, and there's a king and queen in the window of that castle. Okay, fighting off these primitive wild men that were coming down out of the caves and out of the woods. Okay, those are the Edomites. The Edomites were not, the so-called white man was not in rulership during the Dark Ages. So all of your television shows, The Last Kingdom, Vikings, those are all lies when it comes to.
The original Vikings and Norsemen were Jake. They were not Edomites.
The aesthetics of the people, all right? The so-called white man came into power again when this happened in 1492. And Cristobal Colon, okay, this is on page, starting at page 94 all the way up to page 100 in not this book, but this book, Mayor K. Surley's book, who is a Jewish scholar and rabbi. It's called Indians and Israelites, from page 95 all the way up to page 99. And it speaks of Louis de Torres, one of the 5 Hebrew interpreters that he brought with him. So his name was Cristobal Colon, not Christopher.
Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Del Torres was a Jake. I wouldn't be surprised, because you had to have Jakes on there, on the boats.
Columbus, and he wasn't looking for India. He was looking for Azareth. All right. Here is because he knew that the Israelites came there. He knew that it was a land full of corn and wine and lots of gold, and that's why they came. All right. On page 96 it says, "To what race did these aboriginals in America belong? Several writers have asserted that they have displayed much learning in attempting to prove that aboriginals were of descendants of the Jays, of the Israelites, not the Jays. All right. Remember that whole J word is a hijack. That's how they asserted them, because they were converts, and they don't speak about that part. His argument was derived from an unpublished manuscript when he discovered it, and that's on page 96 in Mayor K. Sterling's book. On page 15, oh wow. See, he said the name Moreno, it basically means more. I just happened to turn to this on page 27. All right, you look up.
Woo! Look at that. The name Moreno. That's what they deal with a woman that's Latin tribe. She tells her friends, he's not Puerto Rican, he's not Dominican, he's He's Moreno. That's what they use here in New York. I don't know about California, but they call us. My wife used to call me that all the time. Moreno. Moreno. What does Moreno mean? It goes back to the Moors. There was no nation of the Moors. These Moors talking about, yeah, there's an actual nation in the Bible. Those are the Moors. No, you're not Moabites. You're not Moabites. Moors, if you're just as much a Moor as you are a Negro or a colored person. That was just a label that was placed on us. No nation of Moors. You need to stop that. Who's this guy? He comes on Sarnetta. Law Abba. He be defending that stuff. You're an Israelite. If you are a Moor, then guess what? You're going to go under slavery under us, the Israelites. But now these Moors like Alim and Amir and these other guys, because I knew all them dudes back in the 90s. If they are really Moors, as in the Bible, the Moabites, then you're going into captivity. So what they're doing now is they're saying, we're Israelites too. You cannot be a Moabite and an Israelite at the same time. You cannot be an Edomite and a Judite at the same time. See, this is why you got to listen to us. You got to listen to us. All that other nonsense is just that nonsense and confusion. We got the full 100% truth.
Moreno tells you a Negro, a black person, a Moor. The name Moreno was applied to persons of the J-ish stock. No, Israelite stock. All right. Remember, J-ish is a hijack. All right. Okay. But on page 15, which is where I was headed when I stumbled across that, it's been a while since I picked this book up. It talks about he also at the top, he was very fond of reading the Bible. And in the fourth book of Ezra, which was probably written by a J who lived outside of Palestine, according to his own assertion, the incentive that implied him to plan his discoveries was not the love of science, but his interpretations of the prophecies of Isaiah. In Portugal, Columbus earnestly conceived the idea that making a maritime discoveries by the way of the West, because he knew, and that's why, and right here, in the Jewish Encyclopedia, it confirms that America is Arsareth. Okay? And matter of fact, it says, the land beyond the great river, far from the habitation of man, in which the 10 tribes will dwell, observing the laws of Moses until the time of restoration, according to second Azareth, well, fourth Azareth, because Ezra and Ezra, you know, when you read the book of Ezra, Ezra is just the Latin way or Greek way of saying Ezra. All right? Because it's a continuation. When you read it, it does continue the stories and the precepts. So it also proves that the Apocrypha has always been a part of the Bible. All right? They removed it because they didn't want this evidence presented. This is one of the main reasons why the Apocrypha was removed from the Bible, because it identified the Edomites and it identified the natives as Israelites. And now your Christians will have to explain your massacring and stealing of the land while claiming to be following JC, while you were murdering off his people and stealing their land. So you would have had to justify and explain that. All right? But you got a woman, you know, you can see the screen circling. That's why.
See, you want to keep this lie going, because when the truth comes out and the end comes out, there's going to be a reversal of roles, a reversal of fortune. A reversal of fortune. Let me go ahead and look that up. Bear with me for a minute. A reversal of fortune, meaning a reversal of fortune is a sudden and significant change in circumstances, most often a shift from good to bad. Esau is the end of the world, Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. It can also describe a change from bad to good, such as when a struggling company suddenly becomes successful. Where that struggling company that's suddenly going to become successful, the term implies a drastic shift in one's luck, status, or overall situation, like a downfall or a triumph. Downfall for them and triumph for us. There's another word. Well, that's all I need. That's all I need. That Esau is the end of the world. Jacob is the beginning of it. That followeth is what? A classic example of a reversal of fortune. Trading Places. There was a movie, Trading Places. Reversal of fortune. The Dan Aykroyd character, he became a bum eating a raw piece of liver or steak on a bus. He was looking all messed up. And Eddie Murphy was a homeless guy on the street, and he became this top executive. That's reversal of fortune. You know? Let's come on back.
Because you're not supposed to be here anyway. All right, buffer it. Don't know shit. All right, but it says the Restoration, Columbus. Mayor K. Sterling's Christopher Columbus, translated by Dr. C. Gross, because it was in, I think it was written originally in Spanish, Portuguese, Hebrew, and a couple other languages. And this book right here, it was printed to English here in this book. And it was regular reading in colleges, and then they removed it from the colleges in the early part of the 19th century. All right, they couldn't have the JS people run around knowing that, you know, that these people, that the people that they were taking land from here in Americas, were really parts of the tribes. Hence the reason why in 1682, the year after Esau Edom, the self-proclaimed white man, proclaimed himself to be white. All right, yet again trying to hide from the title Edomite, he declared in an act in Virginia in 1682 that the natives of the Americas and the Negro slaves and the African slaves were now Negroes. So when we tell you that many natives got reclassified as Negroes here in the Americas, I'm going to provide that receipt real quick. I'm hunting for it. And here it is. It says Virginia passed 2 acts in 1682, and it combined natives and Africans into one category as Negroes. And you can see that they really didn't look that much different. All right, they were both chocolate and swarthy people with different shades of brown. All right, and the natives had a different hair texture. Many of them, some of them still had woolly hair, but a lot of them had a different hair texture because they had gone through different captivities. You got to remember, the Northern Kingdom was separated from the Southern Kingdom for thousands of years. All right, while the Southern Kingdom was over there intermingling with Hamites, who also were chocolate in skin with woolly hair, the Northern Kingdom was intermingling with the people of Levant. You know, Ishmael, Elam, all these other people who were chocolate and swarthy, tawny in complexion, but had different textures of hair. So thus the differences over time. Okay, but still the same bloodline for those bloodlines that survived. So here, I'm just going to read a portion of. This is page 370. Oh, let me turn this light on. It's kind of dark in here. Page 370 in Lost Tribes and Promised Lands. Starting at the second paragraph. But the 10 lost tribes remain Manasseh's principal concern, and his discussion now focuses on pursuing the eschatological implications of their dispersion. He undertakes an extended examination of the text of 2 Ezra 13. All right, the man from the sea passage. It's revealing of Manasseh's personality and the kind of Judaism he represented. All right, remember, they love to throw that word and make it, the Israelites did not follow Judaism. The converts followed Judaism. The actual Israelites did not. Okay, he continued finding his heterodox and mystical texts to be a major concern after his return to rabbinical tradition. So this Manasseh guy was a rabbi. Okay, the heretical new Christian religiosity was still there beneath the surface. Indeed, he may consider Manasseh to be the last outstanding representative of the quasi-religion geographical messianism, extending all the way back through Columbus and Lacasis to Abraham Cortes, the master Jacom of Majorca. It is entirely significant that though he learned Orthodox Jews, that's why all the confusion, because Orthodox Judaism does not follow the Bible at all. They follow the Talmud and other texts, other books. All right, the Bible is just a front for them to fake that they're Jacob when they're really Esau. All right, it says, continue to locate the descendants of the lost tribes in various parts of the world. Manasseh was only a member of this tradition and ordained a rabbi every place, and the only ordained rabbi ever to place them in America, as if they didn't go there, when the scriptures are very clear that they went to the four corners of the earth among all people, and that they went to, and the ancient world, which was Africa and Asia, because Europe is in Asia. All right, please don't make me pull out this map of Asia that I'm holding in my hand. Europe is a part of it. Europe has always been a part of Asia. All right. Let me get the receipt, because there's always someone new. So let me go ahead and get the receipt and prove it to you, since I said it, because someone will run their mouth, and and it's my job to make you look stupid, to make you STFU.
Yep, I do the same damn thing. I say I'm gonna say it, then I say bring it out because he ain't got no map on that. That's bullshit. Hey, fourth part of the world, fourth part of the earth, same thing. Wuzen Miller, if I'm saying his name right, the bar knows his name by heart. He made this map showing the other side of the earth. Sometimes a little after the exact year. It's the late 1500s, if I'm not mistaken. You can look it up. In Revelation chapter 6, it says the fourth part of the earth. He called the fourth part of the world, which is the Americas, Canada, Central, U.S., Central, and South America, which that's where the 10 tribes went to. That's where the Northern Kingdom went to. Those dark people that the Columbus encountered, those were the Israelites. And they know it. The elite knows it. The doors are closing in on your walls, are closing in on your asses.
Shut the F up. All right, so let's bring out the info. I got it. Just give me a second. I'm hunting for it. It's not there. Nope. Close. Somewhere around here. Of course, I'm finding everything that I'm not looking for. There it is. Got it. Let's go down for a second. And let's get you that. This is from the Oxford Dictionary, 1850. Eurasian. All right? The definition of Eurasian, an individual. It says Europe, in a sense. Hold on, let me brace myself so I can hold it still. Definition number 1. Of or pertaining to Eurasia, to Europe and Asia, considered as forming in reality one continent. Europe is in Asia. Shut your dumb ass up. All right? It's always been that term Europe came about after 1492 during the Renaissance with this whole new.
Let me just say this. When I was in elementary school, they said Europe and Asia were two separate continents. And then sometime, I forget the exact year, you can look it up, they said, oh, we're going to call it Eurasia. But back when I was a kid, they didn't call it Eurasia. They called it Europe and Asia. They said it was two separate continents.
Social construct of whiteness and blackness and all that mess. Them trying to hide and cover up history. All right? So let me go now to this. Yeah, this is page 365. 360. Ooh, that's a lot of reading. I'm just going to read this last paragraph. This is some good stuff. I'm going to just have to come back and do this lesson again. It's been years. You know, my beloved brother, my fellow laborer, and contemporary, Kazak, used to go into this book a lot. All right, and so this is the story of Montezinos when he got locked up and put in prison, praying for salvation in his cell one day. He was reciting the then standard formula. I think he was the Shammai. It says, among the new world Morenos, all right, meaning the people in the Americas with chocolate and color. Let me play this quick video, and then I'll finish reading this. We can get this quick receipt.
Spanish explorers found massive Hebrew temples run by black priests across America in 1540. Francisco Vázquez de Coronado's expedition records, stored in Spanish royal archives, document something that changed everything. They discovered elaborate religious ceremonies with Torah readings in perfect ancient Hebrew. But here's what shocked them most. These black communities knew the Bible better than European Jewish scholars. Spanish missionaries watched in amazement as these priests performed sophisticated Hebrew astronomical calculations. The religious artifacts matched exact descriptions from Solomon's temple. Coronado realized these weren't primitive tribes. They were descendants of the original Hebrews who had been in America for thousands of years.
See?
But in 1542, Spanish Inquisition officials ordered the systematic destruction of hundreds of Hebrew temples. Black Hebrew priests were tortured and executed for refusing to convert to Christianity. Survivors watched their sacred sites burn in coordinated fires. The Spanish deliberately erased proof that black people were the original chosen people of both the Holy Land and America. The truth was buried, but the records remain.
So, exactly, and that's the problem. The records remain, the evidence remained. Okay? That they came to the Americas and found these chocolate Hebrews, these Israelites. 2 Corinthians 11:22. Are they Hebrews? So am I. Are they Israelites? So am I. All right, so the so-called natives of the Americas were indeed Hebrews before they, and they got raped and integrated the same way that the so-called Negroes did when they got brought here. But this is 364. It says, page 364 at the bottom paragraph. Francisco told Montezemos all he knew about these people from his own traditions. His ancestors, to their eternal shame, had indeed made war on them and persecuted them. Only the sorcerers of his tribe had perceived that they were a special people and had given warning that they should be left alone. The God of these children of Israel is the true God, they had said, and everything inscribed on their tablets is true. At the end of days, they will be the lords of all nations on earth. How do I open up every lesson? The Israelites are going to be the lords of all nations on earth, enforcing the law, statutes, and commandments of the Bible, which is the law of heaven on earth as it is in heaven. So with that, I hope you are edified. Call the law Yahweh B'Hashem, El Shai B'Hashem.
And that's, hey, and it's going to come to pass, and they know it. The elite knows it. The regular Joe boxer cracker Edomite, he don't know what's going on. These women don't know what's going on. Your women that you deal with don't know what's going on. But the super elite, they know. They know that their time is up. Revelation 12:12. Anyway, shalom. On to the next. Cheerio.